Did you know that the world of wine has its own version of Antique Roadshow? Except that instead of dusty vases and old pictures, people are bidding on bottles of wine worth more than your last vacation. So today on SoCal with Val, we're pulling back the curtain on a corner of the wine industry that most people don't even know exist: wine auctions. And guess what? One of our favorites, the Wine Exchange right here in Southern California, has joined forces with a global powerhouse, Spectrum Wine, opening the doors to an entirely new adventure in the wine universe. And I'm really excited about this. Something else to learn about wine. And who better to guide us through this delicious twist than the man who's tasted more wines than most of us have ever had fast food dinners, Kyle Meyer. Today, we're talking about the history, the mystery, some big moves, rare bottles, and why you might one day find your perfect bottle not on a store shelf, but under a digital auction hammer. Buckle up. This is going to be fun. Kyle Meyer, welcome back. And let's start with the headline. The Wine Exchange has merged with Spectrum Wine. In your own words, what does this mean? What does Spectrum bring to you, and what do you bring to Spectrum?
It means everything. It's like the line in that movie, you complete me. Um, it had to come together. The folks at Spectrum had always, we've had great communication with them over the years, just respected them as with what they did in the auction business and the storage business. And they always handled their business really well. Just a really good company. And we had been in talks in the casual talks, just hanging out, having a glass of wine, that kind of deal. And
Of
and
course.
uh, eventually, casual talks get a little less casual, and they get a little more serious. And eventually, it got to the point, like, why aren't we doing this? We just kind of looked at each other and said, "This is too good. It makes too much sense."
Yeah.
So everybody put pen to paper, and we came up with a fantastic deal for everyone that takes two really, really great companies in the wine business and brings them together. And what it does is it creates this complete format. We really are one-stop shopping now. Over the next 6 to 8 months, we're going to create a new platform. We're going to build a new retail outlet here at Spectrum's facility, their temperature-controlled facility here, and we're going to, have the new tasting bar. So think about it: in 6 to 8 months, under one roof, we're going to have a tasting bar, full retail floor, wine storage, auction business, all of it in one spot. And there's really no excuse to go anywhere else. The customer, they don't have to go anywhere else. It's literally this spot. Boom, done, finished. And that really appealed to all of us. It really did, especially in this day and age. With the wine business is with the Costco's and these big stores and all these a lot of more people are getting into wine while there's actually less wine being consumed. So it's one of these inverse relationships right now that really we had to take a long, hard look at and go, where do we want to be in 5 years? Where do we want to be in 10 years? And this was absolutely the best way to do it. So everyone's tickled pink, and we're gonna rule the wine world.
I can only imagine from my little level of what I see it and what I know of the hundreds of messages you must have been receiving, gotten and receiving from your colleagues and your admirers around the world. The JCs, the Helenes, all those
Hmm?
people must be excited.
Well, it was a big ripple in our little pond. You
Yes,
know,
I'm sure.
we knew it was going to shake things up a little bit, but the business always needs a little shaking up. And I think in life, like, and Valerie, you can probably testify to this. Every, I'd say, 10 or 12 years, maybe 20 years on the outside, you have to reinvent yourself. I use the euphemism like the Lakers. That team can win several championships, and they might be together 8 or 10 years. But after that, you'll see a decline. Maybe they're less interested. Maybe the coach doesn't catch their attention as much anymore, and you have to build a new team. You
Yeah.
have to reinvent. You have to reload. And I'm a big proponent of that. I think we have these 10, 12, 15, maybe 20-year windows where you can really create, be amazing, and then you have to sit there and go, okay, what next? What direction am I going next? And I know you've done that in your business, and I think it's really important to do that. Just to be doing one thing, the same thing for like 40 years, which I've been kind of doing the same thing for almost 40 years, but but to do it differently, do the same thing, do it differently.
But you have. And let me
Hmm.
just add to those people who don't know you personally. You do that in your family. Okay, you have a
Hmm.
daughter who dances, and where's she going to dance now? Where's her career taken her? And now she's
Yeah.
a ballet a ballerina actually in Sweden, I think is
Yeah.
where she
Yeah.
is.
Royal Swedish Ballet. Yeah.
But that won't last forever. So she'll
No.
go somewhere else, or she'll become something, or she'll get to the age where she's got to do something different because of her body or
Mhm.
something. And I've seen you guys. I mean, I was maybe I would love to brag and say I was one of your first walk-in customers at the wine exchange when you weren't quite open yet. So where
Mhm.
you've gone with that and where you are now, you reinvented yourself then,
Yep.
you reinventing yourself now, and it's only to your credit 10 million times what you built at the wine exchange
Yeah.
that put you on the global stage already and put you in a position to where you were attractive to someone like Spectrum who said, we need these guys.
Yeah. Maintaining brand. It was really critical. That's the hard work, is maintaining brand and and brand value and brand loyalty. And it's really critical. And the Wine Exchange brand was a great brand, and no doubt about it. And it'll continue to be a great brand. But under the Spectrum banner, uh, I don't know if the name's going to stick or not. That's up to my bosses to decide now. I like saying that. And but but the point is, we did create a strong brand that, for example, you love. You liked shopping with us. A lot of people like
I
shopping with
love it.
us,
I love being
and
there.
and a lot of people like doing the auctions and wine storage with Spectrum. And what I found out is both teams are fabulous teams. Our team at the store is great, and the team at Spectrum is also really great. Bunch of really good people, a bunch of hardworking people, and I think it's going to mesh pretty seamlessly. Honestly, the first 2 weeks. It's only been 2 weeks since we did it, and I can tell you that I'd say we're ahead of schedule with regards to what we want to accomplish and how we want to accomplish it. So it's great.
Well, enthusiasm and passion and drive makes up for a lot of things, and you certainly have that. And you've not only created your brand with the name, but you created a brand with your personalities, your
Hmm.
visuals, your
Hmm.
videos online. People got to know you who otherwise wouldn't have known you. People
Hmm.
may know Spectrum's name, but we knew the wine exchange. We know the wine exchange because we know you. We see you every day. We see your specials online. We get your emails that say you and your watch your videos that say you need to buy this. Like, okay, I need to buy this right now. So you've created something that's much more than just a brand. You've created the face, the name, the people, don't you think?
Yep. Yep. That's part of it, because in the old days it was writing, right? Remember, us old folks, we still remember writing articles
Yeah,
to sell
yeah.
wine, and we still do. We still do. But we've evolved from that.
Yes.
With AI, ChatGPT, you can write incredible articles just by telling Chat, "Hey, write me an article. Write me an article on Romani Conti in the voice of Ernest Hemingway. No more than 600 words." Boom, it's up.
Yeah.
So, what is writing now?
Yeah.
And so video, of course, we started it years and years ago. We were doing wine videos, 15, 20 years ago. But what it's done now it's the daily. Like, literally, video is a part of everyone's daily life. Whether you're just listening to it in the car or whether you're watching it, that's how we can, separate ourselves from the others. And you're absolutely right. Our personalities and who we are is part of that WineX brand, and honestly was part of the acquisition. You know,
Oh, sure.
yeah, bringing us over, just not just to work with retail, but maybe down the line to work with their auctions, to work with whatever. But we're really part of that brand, and happy to be a part of that brand.
And I, for one, am excited about what you're going to bring to that. I can only imagine your personalities and your videos being brought into the auctions, right? Just the personality of that and the energy and the enthusiasm and the fun and the light. part of your personality that you bring to it.
Mm.
It's not only a serious auctioneer, right? But you're
Mm.
going to say, "Okay, let me tell you about this wine," and
Yeah.
you just have a different personality, which is amazing. And I'm sure that there are a lot of people thinking that Spectrum is really fortunate to have you, and of course, there are people who see the other side, that you're fortunate to be able to pair with Spectrum, and
Mm.
I'm excited. So now, instead of going to work for you selling wine, I'm going to have to learn to be an auctioneer.
Start practicing.
I've wanted to do that for a long time. I've wanted ever since I got involved in doing the Pacific Coast Wine Festival. I wanted to
Hmm.
start to be an auctioneer. So maybe, you never know. And we
It,
know we have a show, Always Ageless. We're never too old to do that.
it's an art and a skill that I would love to learn at some point.
Yes, yes. Well, we'll have to learn it together. So you've had these conversations with Spectrum and amongst yourselves. And I remember that there's something that happened in your business not long ago. Well, it was several years ago. And I remember you said to me, we walked out of that meeting and we looked at each other and said, if we don't do this now, and you may not remember what it was, but you might. It was a meeting in another state, and you said that
Mhm.
you looked at Tristan and said, if we don't do this now, we're crazy.
Yeah.
And so, what was that moment with Spectrum when you said,
Uh,
now is the time?
well, the negotiations were, like I said, were always like super friendly and amicable, and they were over a long period of time. This wasn't a rushed thing that we got into. We really looked at all the pluses and minuses. We really got to know each other. We had lunches together. We broke bread together. We really, because if I was going to do something with someone, I really wanted to be comfortable with them. I just didn't want to do a deal for the sake of doing a deal, because these are people that are going to be working closely with, intimately with, over years. So
And you had a successful business. You didn't have to leave it,
no,
right?
no,
I mean, we all love the wine exchange. You
yes,
have your own reputation, your own brand. Like you said, you didn't have to do something right now.
no, no, and much to Spectrum's chagrin, we didn't have to do anything. You know what I mean? So they
Sure,
were
yeah,
like, "How about da 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 da," and we'd be like, "Yeah, well, let's see what
yeah.
happens." And
Like, have you
but then
thought about it lately, right?
yeah, no, exactly. But then we got to a point where we were in the best position to do something. Actually, for example, with regards to the lease of our building, with
Yes,
regards
yes,
to where we were personally and professionally in our lives, where the business was, professionally, where Spectrum was professionally, and what they wanted to do and achieve. And what happened is all that just kind of coalesced over a period of time. So it got to the point where Spectrum was like, well, how about we do something like this? And then myself and Tristan had another one of those moments. We kind of looked at each other and were like, I think we have to do this. You know, uh, and Tristan was tougher than I was. You know what I mean?
was he? Was
Because
he?
yeah, wine exchange. I was with the company longer, but it feels he's tightly ingrained in it. This is something that he really is. He was passionate about something that he helped create.
Yeah,
So it took a little prodding, on Spectrum's part, but it finally got to the point where it's like, well, this is amazing. Once we saw all the
blesses.
tools that
Yeah,
were available to us from
mm,
Spectrum, and knowing how we work and how we sell wine, and knowing the tools that they had available, you know what I mean? It was
yeah,
like, just, you're a chef and someone hands you a brand new kitchen and a bunch of Wagyu beef and a bunch of like sushi grade ahi tuna and says, go cook. And you go, okay, I know how to work with this.
I know
And
how to do this. Yeah,
yeah, and before you were using blunt knives and you were doing Star Kiss tuna from the can. You know what I mean? Like,
but you weren't. But still, I
we
know what.
weren't.
Yeah, you weren't.
But yeah, we had a lot more tools available to us, and
Mhm.
a lot more customer access. They're very dependent on us to reach out to their customer base with regards to retail. So it really is great because we have our retail base now. They get to have just in-house wine storage that they can purchase if they want. They can jump into auctions. They can combine auction lots and retail lots together and pick it all up at the same time. And this is just beginning days. It's early days for us. So we're doing the construction downstairs. We're in the process of building a new website, which is probably going to take 6 months. But that new
Okay.
website is going to be something else. It's going to be game changing in the wine business. And what the customer will be able to do and the customer experience on that site will be, it's blowing our minds. Tris and I, we were pretty progressive. We're progressive merchants, but
Very.
what they have planned for the new setup is, woof, boy, it's.
And being able to work with someone who's a visionary is game changing and life changing,
Mhm.
especially right now, because number one, you have to be.
Yeah.
And the thought of doing something that's different and someone who gets it,
Hmm.
someone who doesn't say, I was in a meeting with somebody we know recently, and someone say, "Oh, do you use AI?" And one guy said, "Oh, every now and then." And they said, "Do you use it?" I said, "All the time." "What do you mean you use it every now and then?" Right? Who are
Yeah.
you? Right?
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, and our audience and our viewers know that how fond I am of the wine exchange. And when I heard about this, I thought, I wonder, like, they're going to give up the wine exchange, right? So for me, being an independent business builder and having my own brands and my own things that I change from time to time, like SoCal with Val and my show Always Ageless. And I thought,
Mhm.
gosh, I thought maybe you could like keep your name. So just in case it doesn't work out, right? Are you sure you want to give up what you've built? But I can see the excitement. And now the more I've learned about Spectrum, that if they embrace you and they bring in your talents and your skills and your all of the great things that you guys do, it's going to be a real winner.
Yeah, and I think the brand will always be there, but the brand could be rebranded, right,
Mm.
within Spectrum itself.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the brand's going to totally go away. You know what I mean? Like having wine exchange somewhere out there is going to be really cool,
Hmm.
and we may utilize it in a different way than it was before.
Sure.
But I think it's going to stick. But the names, you can get really attached to a name, but at the same time, business is business. And like for example, when we bought Wine Exchange back in 2015
Right.
um, from the Zanotti brothers, there was, Tristan and I had some conversations because our company at the time was Best Wines Online.
It was.
And, Tristan was like, no, I like our name and I want our name. And, and I was trying to tell Tristan, what if Spirit Airlines bought Delta? Do you think they're going to relabel all the Delta planes Spirit? No, they're going to label the Spirit planes Delta.
Right. Yeah. Good point.
Look at your name. So, it was very easy to take the Wine Exchange name, even though we love Best Wines Online. We created our brand from scratch and
Yeah.
did all the logos and everything. And it was our baby. But in
Yeah.
the end, it was like, no, we're Wine Exchange. And in the end,
And,
the Spectrum Group is a bigger entity than we were. So if they want everything Spectrum, they get everything Spectrum. But I don't think we're burying the WineX brand. I think it'll reemerge at some point as something else.
and may I just say right here on this show, I could see something like Spectrum Winex, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Or
you could.
Winex division of Spectrum or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
No, we've had some discussions, but for now we're gonna just right now we're eating a whale. So
yes, yes, yes.
we're all digesting right now. So
Right. But knowing you guys as much as difficult it is to make a physical move, to move all of your inventory and to start over all over again, so to speak, I just can imagine knowing you guys that there must be some excitement inside about, oh, look at this. This is going to be really cool.
yeah, tickled pink. There's just so much opportunity here, and you don't get this opportunity too much in
No,
life, where you get a chance to really make something of something, and it's all there right in front of you.
no,
You just have to craft it. A lot of times we don't get the raw materials available to us to craft something, or you're stuck. Like you can't. One of the things with Wine Exchange was it's very difficult. New customer acquisition in the wine business is exceedingly difficult because with wine you can't get on a lot of platforms. You can't advertise heavily. It's a very specialized client where
yes,
it's not mattresses or tires where everybody needs one. Fine wine is much more specialized, so the customer acquisition cost is incredible, almost untenable. So you get your acquisition, you get new customers strictly through word of mouth, and this sort of deal. And with this scenario, we have a fantastic new base of customers that we can really work with. That I think will be excited for us to work with them. You know what I mean? Like we're literally handing them exactly what they want. You know,
Absolutely.
so
And anybody who doesn't know you is going to love you. So,
yeah.
and I just think how exciting it must be for you to think I built something that's worth something to someone
Hmm.
else. How
Yes.
lucky we are that somebody like Spectrum wants us, right?
Yeah.
And although certainly you bring something to them also,
Mm,
but that you've made yourself an attractive entity,
mm,
and an attractive asset. So I think
yeah.
that's really amazing. So tell us now, what's your elevator pitch when somebody asks you, so Kyle, who are you in this whole big scheme? Tell us
Well,
about
technically now I'm the co-director of retail sales for the Spectrum Wine Group.
it. Okay.
That's my official title. I have a title now. Um,
Well, you had a
so
title before.
yeah, no, yeah, yeah. What, Hefe, boss, owner, partner, buyer,
I,
whatever, you know.
yeah, absolutely. Last one out of the door at night.
Like, yeah, first one in, last one out. You know how
Yeah,
that works.
yeah.
And so now I'm co-director of retail sales, and I get to really just focus on selling, buying and selling product. That was one of the key things when we put this together was the Spectrum Group. They were really interested in just because they're like, okay, so what do you do? You know, they asked me, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
sure.
well, I take out the
Well,
trash. I'm off the tasting room. I'm the tasting room coordinator.
yeah,
I enter all the invoices. I do all the pricing. You know, we do all the wine buying. We do all the videos. Part of the time, I pull the orders and pack them, and they were like, oh my god, no, no, no. So they were like, you are going to do this now, and I was very excited to hear that because as a business owner, you know, you're the janitor,
yes,
um,
yes, yes,
your HR,
yes.
your everything. And what happened is there were so many door knocks over the course of a day that it really impeded the ability to sell.
Yes, it does.
And
Yes, it does. Yes.
if you can't sell, your business doesn't go forward.
No.
So literally, started to have to. I would have to work from home. I took one day a
Yeah.
week just to work from home. On Fridays, I just worked from home because I was like, there's so much to get done that I really can't be uninterrupted. I literally have to be in front of a laptop for 6 hours straight, no breaks.
Sure.
And you don't get that luxury when you own your own business and you're at the business and everyone's in your business. So,
That's true. Yes, that
yeah.
is so true. And we have a saying, which I probably have shared with you if I've known you more than 2 days, that sales cures all. So you certainly need to have sales. There's all these fun things and videos and all this, but ultimately you have to sell something. So
Yes.
sales is a pretty important part of any organization.
I'm in retail. That's what retail is. Retail isn't
Yes,
staring at something.
yes,
Retail is watching it go out the door and inviting the new something in. And
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. Definitely, definitely. So most people, let's talk about wine auctions. Most
mhm,
people really don't know about wine auctions. You and I know a little bit. Well, I probably know less than you do, but we met when I was working as a co-chair of a charity wine auction. And
mhm,
I learned that there were charity wine auctions around the country. At that time, there were really about six big ones: Atlanta, Washington, D.C., Nashville, Napa Valley, others, Naples, Florida,
mhm,
and one a part of the Houston rodeo. And that was a one time a year charity event. It was done specifically for that charity.
mhm,
Well, then there are other auctions I learned that are more like a antique auction or an art auction, and it
mhm,
happened in art, or it
mhm,
happened in wine, excuse me. And now we see that Spectrum has a I don't know that a different, but would I say a wider scope on the auction business? So tell us about that. What does really Spectrum do? Because I've looked at your website, Kyle, and now I see you even have like online auctions going on every day.
yeah.
So tell us what this is.
Well, what I always appreciated about Spectrum, being a wine nerd myself, was the breadth and the depth of their auctions. I.e., they'll take those smaller lots. They'll find those lots of 3 bottles of 10-year-old Beaujolais and put them out there, you know, and then they'll do the lots of Romani Conti They'll do the lots of Chateau Petrus. They really work from top to bottom, which I respect a lot because I'm a retailer that works from top to bottom. I
Yes.
get the same thrill selling a $10 wine that kicks ass than I do a $1,000 bottle of wine. Although the $1,000 one's maybe a touch more thrilling, as it should be an auction, but still the juice is the same for both of those. And I think Spectrum gathered a very kind of retail-esque clientele with their auction business based on the variety of wines that go into their auctions, right? So they're not just like super elitist, right? So it's not just like, oh, don't come to me to send wine to an auction unless it's first growth Bordeaux or blah 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 blah. They do that, but they also do the 3 yards in a cloud of dust auctions. And I, as a consumer of fine wine, I really really appreciated that. And a lot of our customers come to us like, because we were a mile apart, by the way. The two
That's
entities,
right. We should announce. Yes, you only moved a mile. So for
we
anyone who
moved
wants
a
to work,
mile.
yeah, yeah,
We're
you can still go there.
we're literally a mile down the road.
True.
So a lot of customers, they would come to us and pick up their wine that they bought from us, and at the same time they go to Spectrum and they grab their auction lots that they won the previous week.
Oh,
So, and they were always talking about, oh, oh my God, I got this, 15-year-old Cru Bourgeois Bordeaux, at auction for like, $12. And like, it was great. And I always appreciated that with Spectrum. It was the literal spectrum of the auctions that they have. So, they do the fancy stuff. We just did a live auction last Saturday, and that live auction was all heavy duty gear. I mean, the cheapest bottle of wine that day I think was $110, for the Hammer, and went all the way up to $20,000 bottles of Romani Conti.
whoa.
Uh, yeah, no, it was a big auction all day, 500 and something lots, all premium, top flight Bordeaux, Burgundy, California Cabernet, etc. So they do that, the Christie style, the Sotheby's style, they do that. But they also do like these boots on the ground daily online auctions that I think customers can avail themselves to some really interesting, cool wines that, if they're not trendy, can be had for really incredible prices because it's an auction, right? There's a minimum bid, and then if no one else bids, you can steal something. It's like eBay.
Yeah.
You can walk away with a great deal.
So the question is, what's the difference? And I think you just answered part of it. What's the difference between buying a bottle of wine at WineX versus bidding on one at Spectrum?
Mhm. Well, with the bids, it's like eBay, right? You post something up on Spectrum's wine auctions, and it's up there, and there's a window of purchasing, right? So you have like what, 4 days to bid, or however long the auction is. It could be a week, it could be 4 days, and it can go up, or you're watching the product, you're keeping an eye on it. So, and just like eBay, it might go up to a certain point, you're like, I'm out. Or you might be that person right at the end with 2 seconds left in the auction, clicking to get that bottle of wine that you really, really want. And with retail, the price is the price. It's a super cool wine. We sell it for that price, and there you go. But the auctions, there's always that thrill. There's always that sense of adventure, that sense of danger, and I enjoy that. I think it's really interesting. And if you're the person selling it, you never know. And if you're the person buying it, you never know. So that always fascinates me, and that's the main difference. Provenance is still really great. The quality of the wines, these guys are really good. They do a lot of fact checking, just as any great auction house should, for the provenance and the quality of the material as well.
So then how do you know if the wine you're buying or bidding on at auction is a good one? Now, I
Well,
would assume that the higher price it is, it's pretty obvious because only people would buy those that are wine connoisseurs and are familiar. But if I went there and I saw something for $12, how would I know if it's a good wine or not?
yeah. Well, the wine nerds, they do their research. It's a collectible. It's a hobby, just like anything else. So if you see a bottle of 2019 Foillard Morgon from Beaujolais come up at auction, right? So that regular retail on release, that would have been like a $30 or $35 bottle of wine. But it's at the auction, and right now the low estimate is like $18 or something. And then you're going to pay like 23% buyers, premium. So, you're looking at that wine could be $22. So then you sit there and go, well, is Foillard a good producer? So you research the producer and you go, wow, Foillard's a great producer. you know? Then you sit there and go, what about the vintage 2019? Is that a really good year? Then you can, ask ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's
ChatGPT,
true.
how was the 2019 vintage in Beaujolais? And Chad will be, hey Kyle, that vintage was outstanding. It had warm weather right during harvest. The grapes were picked at peak ripeness and da 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 da. So then you go, okay. I have a great producer. I have a great vintage. The wine can be had for $10 under original market price 6 years ago. I think I'll bid on this, right? So, like with anything else, it's research, whether it's numismatics, whether it's coins or stamps, or
Sure. Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yes, that's true.
Native American antiques,
Yeah.
tapestries. The research is still the research, and it's all out
Yeah.
there for you if you know where to find it.
Yeah. Good point. Good point and great answer. Thank you for that. So, does so let me ask a question. Does the wine stay when it's sent up for auction, put up for auction? Does it always stay there, or if they don't get, there must be some that they don't get the price and they just pull it off?
Yeah, it can happen either way. It can be if they don't get the price that particular week, it can remain at the auction house and it can be put up for auction later. Maybe they take a 2 week break or something, and then they'll put it back up again to see if it sells. Sometimes the seller will simply take it back. You know, the seller might be like, I don't want to sell it for that price. I'll take it back, and they take the product back, or a number of things can happen. Um, a number of things can happen, but generally, almost every lot sells. The thing is the minimums. The minimum bids are actually pretty low. The what do they call them? The reserves. The
Yeah,
reserve. Yeah, the reserve is like really pretty low in a lot of these items. Because the auction house, Spectrum doesn't. They're not going to take an auction lot from you and then have you say, "I want to sell it for more than the market bears."
of
Right?
course.
The point of auction is to get a deal. So if a wine is $500 in the open market, the customer wants to get it for 400 at auction. The customer doesn't want to pay 600. Why would they
Yeah.
do that? So so a
It
lot of the
sounds like
auction
real
lots.
estate, right? The seller
Yeah,
wants this, the buyers want
yeah.
this.
No, exactly. So the minimums are usually pretty low. So I think the vast, vast, vast majority of their lots sell. Very few lots don't sell. You know what I mean? Because the spectrum will just be like, you're asking too much for that product, so we're not too interested in doing that auction for you. You know what I mean? Because
Right. All right. And Spectrum has a reputation for turning things over. It doesn't do them any good to be an auction house if nothing sells, right?
correct, correct.
So we get it. So just to answer this question, why does something go to auction anyway? Why does a seller, an individual, or a store, anybody, at what point does someone do that?
It could be a number of reasons. These auction lots come up for a number of reasons. One, maybe the person has a large collection, and there's a certain section of their collection that they just not interested in anymore. Maybe they bought across a varied number of styles of wine, and suddenly maybe as they get older, one style doesn't appeal to them anymore. For example, I had one customer many years ago actually, but he had this great cellar full of Burgundy and Bordeaux, and in the end, he was like, I just want to drink, white Burgundy, red Rhones, and Zinfandel. And
Well,
he let all of his red Burgundy collection go. And it
yeah,
was fantastic stuff. And he was just
sure.
like, that doesn't do it for me anymore. Um, we have a lot of customers that graduate, they start drinking California Cabernet. Then they work their way into French Bordeaux. And then they go, Cabernet, boom, they call the auction house.
Yeah,
Um, there's lots that one of the big auction lots from this past weekend involved a store back in Connecticut that had gone out of business. They had been in
oh,
business for like 100 years,
oh my
and
God.
yeah, they went out of business. But when they went out of business, they still had a bunch of wine down in their basement. All the wine was stored in the basement of the store. So all this pristine, beautiful older wine just sitting in the
Mhm.
basement. And Spectrum was able to finagle that collection. They went back and they got it and they brought it all out to California and they auctioned it off last Saturday. Bunch
Oh
of
gosh.
pristine Burgundies, from the 90s, some stuff from the 80s, and 30, 40-year-old Burgundies just in impeccable condition. So that happens. A number
Sure.
of reasons. Yeah.
So, can anybody play in the auction game, or must it be someone who's just on the high level or who's really sophisticated in wine?
Anyone can play. Like I said, that information is out there. And well, like I said earlier, one of the cool things with Spectrum is there's some fun stuff on there. You don't have to spend $1 million. You know, there's some really reasonable lots where you can
Yeah,
buy two.
I wouldn't have expected hearing the story about I just got something great for $12. It's
Yeah, yeah.
that
I mean, you can buy two
like I
bottles.
need to go there, right? I
Yeah,
need to
you can
check
buy
it
two
out.
bottles and it can be like, $40 or something. So
Sure.
it can be fun and it's a great way to learn because you get access to some cool older wines that aren't just like your mainstream older wines. You know what I mean? It's a
Yeah.
wonderful opportunity to learn and taste things you don't normally get to taste by kind
Right.
of working the corners. Maybe older Chateauneuf de Pape, maybe an older Crozes Hermitage on the Rhone Valley, maybe an old Beaujolais, maybe an old California Zinfandel. Um, just there's wonderful opportunities there without spending a bunch of money. So no, anyone can get to do the wine auction thing. It's really no problem. It's and it's fun. It's really fun. I look through their lots and I'm like, that's cool. I get caught up, in my own juice. You know what I mean? I'm like, maybe.
Sure.
Last weekend, Tris and I, bought a couple lots at the auction, just because there was some stuff that was too cool. We couldn't pass it up, so
Yeah, why not?
we work for the company, but we put the paddle up, we were like, we'll take that.
So if someone said, "Okay, my limit's $20,"
Hmm.
they could still go on there and just by matter of watching, keeping their eyes open, right? That they
Hmm.
could set their limits and find something.
Yeah, $20 a bottle, $30 a bottle. I mean, you probably won't find too much stuff like at 12 or $15. You know what I mean? Because it's not worth their time
No,
to
but no,
shoot the
no, but
photos and that kind of stuff. But you can find stuff. I think you could find a pretty damn respectable bottle of wine at auction with some bottle age for like $30.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone likes to do that for the fun of it,
Mm-hmm.
but they still have a limited budget, they could do that.
Absolutely. It's just real easy to open your account. It's click and shoot, just like eBay. It's like wine eBay. It's click and shoot, boom, done. Then you can have it shipped to you, or you can come to the facility to pick it up. Fridays are like pickup days here. Because I think the online a lot of the online auctions end on Thursday, like today, and then
Oh,
a lot of folks will come in the next day and pick up their winnings.
well, that sounds exciting. Then they've got something to talk and brag about over the weekend.
Mm.
Kyle, what's one of the most surprising bottles that you've seen go to auction
Surprising? Hmm.
or wildest?
Wildest. Well, some of the older wines can be really interesting. There was what was it? 19. There was a 1914, I think 1914 Lafite at this past auction, and seeing some of these older bottles come up,
Oh,
just real treasures. These things from 1914, 1928, 1929. These bottles that are over 100 years old. When they pop up, those are always really interesting to me, and sometimes they can be had for very reasonable prices. You know what I mean? God, what was the one? There was a bottle that we were really shocked. Something from the 50s. I think it was like a 55 Latour or a 55 Margaux. And considering the pedigree of the winery, and 55 is actually a sneaky good vintage, and that wine hammered for I think maybe $800 a bottle,
gee.
which considering what we're talking about here was not
Hmm.
crazy. You know what I
No,
mean? Like that was a really good price to get something as historic as that. And those wines always shock and surprise me. Just seeing those bottles, and you can't believe there's still some of them left out there. You think
yeah,
at some point they'd all get drunk or broken or go
sure.
bad, and no, you still find bottles of these really great old wines popping up with great provenance.
And then someone will ask, but does anybody drink them? Do you ever open those old bottles?
Mhm. It's yes and no. I think some people buy them to have in the cellar and look cool,
Yeah,
and then
they're
maybe
trophy
open them
bottles. Sure. Yeah,
at some point. And then other cats, they'll literally buy them and then take them to a party,
sure.
because folks of means can secure these bottles and then just bring them to a Tuesday night hanging out with their wine buddies and crack open, 100-year-old bottles of Bordeaux. I've been fortunate enough to go to those parties. I've been part of
Yes,
that, and
yes, yes,
it's
yes.
pretty extraordinary. You got to call the Uber.
Yeah, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, and I have some. We have one, and we're certainly not at that level. We're not $800 bottles, but
Mm.
we have one that we're saving for my granddaughter's wedding. So I hope when she gets married, that wine is still good. And it's
Yeah,
not that
and
thing we picked up at a wine auction somewhere in our cellar. So,
it's always fingers crossed. The
oh,
a cork is uh, can be evil sometimes.
yes. So do you ever see people who buy one at an auction, they save it, and then they re-auction it?
Oh, sure, I've seen that. If you can steal something, like anything else, just like getting back to like a vase or a great piece of furniture, if you can steal it at one auction and then realize its potential at another auction, that's something else. Because for example, if you buy a 1700s Philadelphia desk, but it was in an auction with a lot of non-furniture items, right?
Right.
So
Yes.
everyone at that auction was thinking more about, porcelains. But then
Yes.
this desk was part of the auction. Then maybe that desk slips through at a price that
Yes.
it wouldn't if it was being sold at an antique furniture auction on the East Coast. You see what I'm saying? So
Yes.
you can buy one auction lot at Spectrum, and then maybe a year later, send it off to Christie's, and Christie's does their thing in New York, and somebody in New York goes, "I need that wine." It can
Yes.
happen.
Yes.
It can happen. I think a
Yeah.
lot of people, though, I think a lot for wine auctions, from what I can tell, a lot of folks aren't speculating. I think a lot of these folks are buying these wines and putting them in their cellars, fleshing out their cellars, because a lot of these wines are super rare. These Romanée-Conti wines and such,
Yeah.
Dujac and these big names. It's one bottle here, two bottles there. This isn't a scenario where you can just like secure cases of these wines that are made in 2 or 3 barrel quantities.
Right.
So yeah, I think these cats really are buying and placing them in their cellars.
And I think something I think of is that, in asking the question, why should someone buy at an auction? It seems to me that when we go to your store, you might have a situation where someone came in and sold you, where you picked up 2 or 3 bottles of something on consignment. But as a general rule, that's not what your store is about, right? But then something might be in an auction situation that they were able to pull out and post 2 or 3 bottles of this or one bottle of something,
Hmm.
right? Which you could find on an auction, which you wouldn't find if you just walked into the wine exchange, right?
Right,
Is that
those older bottles, those bits and pieces of older
yeah,
premium bottles.
sure.
That's those are the cool aspects of auction. We find older wines on a retail level when we go hunting in France, but
Yes,
we're trying to secure larger volumes, of those wines. So we're looking for
yes,
something we can buy 240 bottles of to sell
yes,
to you and other folks. At auction, it could be 2 bottles of this, 1 bottle of that, 4 bottles of that, but it's all super cool bits and pieces. You know what I
and
mean?
how fun for you now because anything is okay for you to buy now, right?
Yeah.
If you see something before, you'd say, "Oh, it really doesn't fit us," but now you can say, "I know what I can do with that," right?
Yeah, yeah, it's open season. It's open season, and if there are larger lots of certain wines that come into play, then we as a company, I think, have the potential to allocate certain lots towards the retail side of the business if we so choose, and certain lots towards the auction side. So it creates great flexibility with,
Yeah,
with with what we can do with all these individual wines that'll be coming our way.
sure. And for somebody like you who enjoys the excitement of a new adventure,
Mm,
right? A new adventure could be just one bottle,
mm.
or it could be, any kind of an adventure going to a new winery or something. So for you who like you and Tristan who like that, this is just going to be like being in a new candy store.
Yeah, it's Christmas every day, man. Christmas
Absolutely.
every day.
Yeah, I can imagine this. So we need to take a few minutes because of the season when we're recording this, which let's let our audience, our listeners, and our viewers know it's the week before Thanksgiving. So let's talk about holiday wines. What should our people be buying? what's good right now? What can we get at? Are you officially, are should we say, what can you get at Spectrum?
Hmm.
You are you are officially, your title is now Spectrum. Okay.
Absolutely.
So what should we be looking for?
Well, holiday stuff. Based on which holiday, because there's a difference. You got two different sets of foods happening here.
Yes.
Traditionally, for a Thanksgiving holiday feast, I would tend to go lighter reds and unoaked whites. Um, let's talk turkey. Let's
All
talk
right,
turkey.
let's talk turkey.
Turkey is not my favorite thing to eat. It is a tough bird. It is a large bird, difficult to cook properly. It is a dry bird. Accordingly, oak from Chardonnay doesn't pair well with it, and neither does bold tannic red wines. Cabernet and turkey do not go together.
No.
So I like pouring Beaujolais, French Beaujolais, Gamay. I like pouring Pinot Noir, right? Great Pinot Noir at Thanksgiving is fabulous. Unoaked whites, Rieslings, Alsatian wines. I love Alsatian whites on the table at the Thanksgiving because you also have that cornucopia, if you will, of other flavors on the Thanksgiving table, and a lot of them are sweet, sweet potatoes, cranberries, these sorts of things. So you need the whites and the reds that can go against that type of food, right? So as a general rule, Thanksgiving, that's what I'm looking for on my table. At Christmas, it can be different, right? Christmas, we have multiple options. If you do a Christmas ham, then you're going back to those options again, right? The Thanksgiving options are in play. If you're doing, the rib roast, well, now you're in Cabernet country.
Right.
Now you're talking Bordeaux. Now you're talking a fine claret with your roast.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
talking, big Rhones. Northern Rhones can come into play. Rioja does beautifully with a rib roast. Or if you're doing lamb, a lot of Christmas, I'll do rack of lamb. Uh,
You do.
yeah, I love doing rack of lamb at Christmas, and rack of lamb with some Rioja or a great Northern Rhone Syrah is like incredible.
Oh.
Yep. And then also that's Christmas is when you can pull out those burgundy, the white burgundies, the Chardonnays, the California Chardonnays, some a little more oak and structure to them. The food on the table at Christmas is going to work. It works better with those types of wines at that juncture. So as a
We
general
need to
rule,
have,
that's what I do.
sounds like we need to have Christmas, a whole separate episode. Talk about wines at Christmas. Let's go back to Thanksgiving. You talked about Pinot and Beaujolais. So if I come to your store today and I want a nice Pinot, do you have a specific one or two or three that you recommend right now?
Mm. I have a couple general genres to recommend. 23 as a vintage in both California and in France is terrific for red Pinot Noir. It's a fabulous year. So without settling on one particular wine, what I would say is come in and say, "Hey, I hear 23 is great for Pinot Noir in California. What do you have?" And then we can work with you in any price point. From 12 to 100, 200, $300 a bottle, and get you the right wine. But 22 was a very warm, hot year, and Pinot Noir doesn't like heat so much. You know what I mean? Like Pinot Noir, we've talked about this in these pages before. Pinot Noir
Mhm.
likes a long, cool, extended growing season to fully ripen and develop those flavors. And 23 was that season. 23 was that vintage. They were picking in October, which is super late.
Very
Um,
late. Yeah.
so, so yeah, I would tell in general. And 23 was also great for Beaujolais. For the Gamay grape in Beaujolais, it was a wonderful vintage. So we have opportunity here with the 23s in general across the board to really get a hold of some really dynamic wines. And they're drinking great. They're impeccably balanced. You can drink them young. They'll age really, really well. They're more balanced than the 22s, and they're terrific wines.
And just to clarify, we can come to your store now, right? You're
Yes, we are under construction, so it's going to be like a pardon our dust thing. But yeah,
That's all right.
you can come in, kick the tires, and a lot of our stock right now is still in the back room, right? So it's all at 55 degrees. It's all being sorted through and re-inventoried and recatalogued for when we fully open the new retail setup here at Spectrum on East St. Andrew Place. So we're in the process of that right now. Our team is working diligently. All the group, all those cats you see up front when you walk in, they're all in the back room right now in 55 degrees in their jackets, sorting through. We moved 80 pallets of wine, 50,000, 60,000 bottles in 36 hours to the new facility. It was a heck of an undertaking, but we packed it all up, we wrapped it all up, and now we have to unwrap it and unpack it. And so that is a time-consuming process.
Yes, the process of downsizing and decluttering, as we talk about, and certainly decluttering wasn't one of your issues, um, but just moving all of that. Yes, we appreciate what an undertaking that is. You and I
It's
have
pretty amazing.
been involved in moving things that we didn't want to have to move.
Exactly. So come visit us, and there is some stuff on the floor. We have some wines on the floor. Not nearly all. It's only about a quarter, or a fifth of our total supply. But everything's available online, and you can still buy online and still purchase and come pick it up. But just bear with us, a little patience, because it's taken us. It's a lot of diligence and a lot of hard work going through all these boxes and picking and pulling these bottles for the orders. And everyone's been very understanding so far, but realize it's going to take a little longer for your order to ship, take a little longer maybe to be available for pickup. So maybe call us first. All the phone numbers still work. It's still the same phone numbers, still the same emails, and just say, hey, by chance is my order ready? And we'll let you know one way or the other. So.
Well, we'll for sure come next week and do a little video. In the meantime, I do have one more question. Tell us, you are now also a storage company, correct? So
Yes,
if anyone has their wines stored in another local storage facility, we can talk to you about moving it?
absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. And I'm not in charge of that side of the business,
No,
but
but
yeah, you just call Spectrum and ask us to speak to someone in wine storage. Trish and a couple others here are super knowledgeable, and there are some lockers available. But I will say the storage business is a good business, and they're probably at 90% occupancy. So call and find out what
yeah.
size locker you need, and then from there they can either put you on a list or maybe have something available. But it's pretty tight. It's full. It's a huge facility, and it's full. It's something.
We would love to do that. But there's something that warms a heart to walk down the aisle and know that that's your locker. We have a little one, and we love that.
Mm.
We love that. Kyle, thank you so much. We are so excited for you. We're proud and blessed that we've had the opportunity to be a teeny part of a customer in your
Aw.
journey and all you've brought to us and to
Mm.
Orange County and to the wine world and some of our customers who've come to you, um, the McCartney family, for example, some of
Mm.
the things that you're helping them with.
Mm.
It has been an absolute blast, and I'm so excited for all that we're going to learn and see and be able to experience because of this merger that brought you together and what it's going to do for your customers as well. You've taken us to your grocery store aisles, to the global stage, to the rare bottles that now get their moment under the spotlight. And most of us didn't even know this world existed. So now our listeners not only know what a wine auction is, they might be able to raise a little paddle of their own. So, to our SoCal with Val family, whether you're an occasional sipper, you want to celebrate and sip this season, you're a curious explorer, or a future winner of a 70s Bordeaux or a 55 Bordeaux bidding war, this merger means a lot more stories for us, more access, more incredible wine right here in our backyard, and more opportunities to have Kyle Meyer with us. Kyle, congratulations from the bottom of our hearts, most sincerely, for this new chapter of your life, you and Tristan and Patrick and your team.
Mm.
We can't wait to follow your journey, to learn more about wine auctions and wine from you. Cheers to this adventure, and thank you so much for being with us today, and happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
Yeah, thanks, Val. Upward and onward. Same to you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.